Hi friends, my name is Liza and welcome to my book club. Fantasy romance has given us some of the best, most iconic couples in fiction, no doubt. But some of them make me want to serve them divorce papers. Yup. In today's video, we are going to be ranking some of the most iconic fantasy romance couples from Together Forever to Divorce Immediately, based on their chemistry, relationship dynamics, and whether or not their relationship would last past the epilogue. Let me know in the comments who your favorite or least favorite fantasy romance couples are, whether they are in-game or a complete disaster. And of course, these are just my opinions, so if you ship these couples, I love that for you. Don't take it too personally, okay? If you like book content, you like fantasy, you like romance, you like sci-fi, I say follow along, hit that subscribe button. I have my little notepad here so I don't forget. Spoiler alert, I'm gonna try not to spoil like the actual plot, but you know, some of these characters don't get together until like the end of the series that they're in, so just keep that in mind. So I have 5 categories here. At the top, we have Together Forever. These are couples that I think are truly endgame, that they are gonna last forever, even after we close the book. Like, they are compatible emotionally, intellectually, like politically. Like, I think that these guys are forever soulmates kind of thing. Next, I have Mid. These couples are just kind of, all right. I think that they'll last forever, but I don't necessarily love it. I'm not super ecstatic about it, you know? These are the people that like you see them together and you're like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Underneath Mid, I have maybe. So like maybe these guys are gonna last forever, maybe not. I'm not really sure. I guess we'll have to find out. These are people that have like some chemistry on the pages, but it's just like very bland, generic kind of romance. Going down a little bit further, I have no chemistry. These are couples that had absolutely no chemistry on the pages of the books. There are a few couples on my list today where I truly thought that they were gonna break up and end up with a different character in the series because they had that little chemistry. Like, you cannot convince me that they are sexually attracted to one another or romantically interested in a long-term relationship. Like, it almost feels like siblings. And then at the very bottom of my tier list today is immediate divorce. These are couples that I think as soon as we shut the book, as soon as that epilogue is finished, somebody is getting served divorce papers. Like, one of them has a lawyer on retainer and they are drafting that paperwork as we speak. And immediately, once we close the cover to the book, papers. Served. Divorce babe. I think I want to start with one of my least favorite couples in the bookish world, and we're going to start hot. This is a hot take, you guys. Be gentle with me. But one of my least favorite romantasy couples is Violet and Xaden from Fourth Wing. I know that is a hot take, but I just think that they are so like immature in the way that they talk to each other. Both books are just based off of the miscommunication trope, which I hate so much. Xaden is like this very generic blob of a shadow daddy who is like vaguely intentional in the things that he does, but he doesn't really have much substance to him other than the fact that he is a shadow daddy and he's supposed to be hot. And that's like really it. Same thing goes for Violet. She's kind of this like Mary Sue character where she's so small and fragile, but she's also simultaneously good at everything, no matter what she tries to do. And the two of them together are unbearably immature. Like, they can't sit down and have a conversation and be honest with each other. That is like the driving force behind the entire plot of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I didn't even bother to read Onyx Storm because I thought that the first two were more than enough for me to realize that I hated them. So they are firmly in the divorce category. Another couple that is incredibly immature, but I do think they might last a little bit longer than like a divorce, is Paedyn and Kai from Powerless. They don't have any chemistry. Like, you cannot convince me that the chemistry, the banter between those two is genuine. Like, it feels like, you know, when you're in middle school and you have a phone for the first time and you're like texting your like 13-year-old boyfriend and you're like, no, you hang up. No, you hang up. It's very much that. And I don't know if they would necessarily get a divorce, but I don't think that they are staying together long term. They can't have a conversation without one of them joking or like getting on to the other one. And I don't think that that is good for a long-term relationship. Paedyn and Kai are definitely no chemistry. Another couple that has no chemistry at all is Kingfisher and Saeris from Quicksilver. I really thought that Saeris was going to end up with Carrion, Mr. Swift. I really thought that she was going to end up with Carrion because the relationship between her and Kingfisher, no chemistry. I don't care that he's like this super incredibly hot, like 6'10", tatted fade daddy. The chemistry between them was non-existent. And also, like, if I'm being 100% for real, Kingfisher gives me vibes of some guy from your hometown that would text you at 11 o'clock at night and say, "You up? I heard you're in town. Let's link." He seems kind of like the guy that would ask you for your Snapchat. I know, I mean, no shade, but I think that's true. Like, I think that Kingfisher is the kind of guy that is like secretly juiced up, kind of angry, a little conservative, and he'll text you just to kind of link up at midnight on a random Tuesday. I'm sorry, Kingfisher. Love you. So Kingfisher and Saeris are going to go in the no chem. Forget bed chem. We got no chem. Take a sip. Speaking of two people that have bed chem, Nyktos and Sera, they are definitely endgame for me, I think. Like, he's like my only shadow daddy that I'm kind of vibing with these days. Because honestly, I'm a little over the shadow daddies. They all just feel very generic and the same. And yeah, Nyktos is kind of generic shadow daddy, but he's like the best shadow daddy. I think that the chemistry between the two of them is like so visceral, and I think there's actually like development in their relationship. There's insta attraction and insta lust, but I do think that they kind of work for it. I like the deception between the two characters and how they have to overcome that, and the relationship lasts past that and it only strengthens once they realize that they're kind of on the same page. So Nyktos and Sera are definitely together forever. Another couple that I have on my list is Jude and Cardan from Cruel Prince. Very, very popular couple because it kind of flips the dynamic a little bit, where the male main character is the more submissive one in the relationship, and we have like a very badass stabby FMC who kind of takes the lead, and he is just kind of like following her along and happy to be there. I think that they are mid. I'm sorry. I know that is controversial, but I think Jude and Cardan are mid. I don't know if it's just because I didn't really love The Cruel Prince to begin with, but I love the fact that Cardan is like obsessed with Jude. Like, once we kind of get farther into the book, even his tail is just constantly obsessed with her. I love that so much, and I love the flipped dynamic. I just don't really, I think that they were mid. Like, I didn't love them together. It was okay. I think they will be together. I don't think that they're divorced. I don't think that they're like a maybe. Like, they're definitely gonna be together past the epilogue, but I don't know, which is kind of mid. You know what I mean? Another couple that is mid, and you cannot convince me otherwise, is Dorian and Manon from Throne of Glass. I am so sorry. Manon should have been a lesbian. That's all I have to say. I don't know, you guys. Manon should have been a lesbian. I have hopes that like Manon, Bryce, and Nesta will like link up in this like triangle of like man-hating women and start their own kingdom like later on. I haven't been following the series. Crescent City was the last one I read in the Maas universe, but somebody has to be a fucking lesbian in that series, right? Like, come on. Statistically, someone has to be gay, and I think it should be Manon. Speaking of Bryce and Hunt are another couple that you cannot convince me, life or death, that couple has any chemistry at all. I was struggling to get through Crescent City for a variety of reasons, but the lack of chemistry and like forced romance between Bryce and Hunt was one of them. I don't know, like they feel like that couple that like actually is never gonna last, but for some reason they are forcing themselves to stay together. That feels like Bryce and Hunt to me. So Bryce and Hunt from Crescent City are definitely in the immediate divorce category. Honestly, like secretly hoping that we have like a secondary love interest for Bryce, because I do like her as a female main character, and I think Hunt is fine. He's also kind of another guy that gives me like juiced up, like you up vibes a little bit, but like together they don't really make any sense to me. The dynamic between the two of them feels like a brother and a sister. Ew. Immediate divorce. One of my favorite reads of 2023 was The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I really loved that universe, like how dark and gritty it felt. I think that the main characters had like clear intentions. I liked the deception. I liked everything about The Serpent and the Wings of Night. But Oraya and Raihn, I don't know. They're kind of giving me maybe vibes, Like, I don't know. There's like something about their dynamic that doesn't really mesh for a couple that I can see lasting forever. Raihn is absolutely obsessed with Oraya, but I truly don't know if you can look past the fact that this man killed your dad. She loved her dad. Like, she doesn't have crazy daddy issues. And then he killed him. Can you really look past that? I don't know. Like, even if your dad did like really horrible things, how is she supposed to be with the man that killed her dad? One day I feel like she's gonna wake up and she's gonna like turn over in bed and she's gonna be like, that bitch killed my dad. So I think that Raihn and Oraya are definitely a maybe for me, which hurts because that was one of my favorite books. Another one of my favorite books. So this is like kind of a throwback a little bit. This book is what got me obsessed with fantasy romance and paranormal romance when I was a teenager. If you were reading paranormal romance or fantasy romance in the 2010s, you know exactly who this couple is. And that is Dimitri and Rose from the Vampire Academy series. Let me tell you, this was the original couple that like lit me on fire. And I was like, ooh, this is kind of nice. He was her teacher and she was a student. And so it was kind of like that forbidden romance. And let me tell you, when I was 13, that was like everything. That was like, oh my God, get a fire hose because I'm hot. Disclaimer, it has been a really long time since I have read these books. I don't think I have read a Vampire Academy novel since like 2012. But I remember being obsessed with them, and they went through so much together. They went from forbidden romance to in love, torn apart, to like him becoming evil and her having to save his soul. And then they end up together. And it's just, that was like everything to me. And I truly think that Dimitri and Rose are endgame. And so Dimitri and Rose from the Vampire Academies are definitely together forever. And my 13-year-old heart is just like throbbing right now. Next are Brynn and Acker from Metal Slinger. So I really loved Metal Slinger when I first read it. And then after a few weeks, I kind of sat with it for a little bit longer. And I was like, maybe I didn't like this as much as I thought I did. And so I went back and I reread portions of the book. I'm going to put Brynn and Acker solidly in the no chemistry tier. Brynn and Acker had absolutely zero on-page chemistry. There was nothing in there where it was like yearning for this person or clearly romantic in nature. It feels like more of a tell instead of show. It feels like they just switched into lusting for one another randomly about 3/4 of the way through the novel. Before that point in the novel, I was 100% 100% convinced that Brynn was going to end up with Messer. The way that she is talking about him, she's like looking at him sometimes, she's thinking about him when he's not there, and then he shows up and she is like so concerned about him surviving and staying with them. I was 100% convinced that she was going to end up with Messer, and maybe she still will, because the chemistry between Brynn and Acker, zero. Non-existent. It felt weird and contrived. So they are securely in the no chemistry tier. Okay, so another couple that is very popular online, and please do not come for me for this. Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't care, because I stand firm by this and I will argue until I'm blue in the face. Nesta and Cassian do not have any like long-term chemistry. They will immediately divorce. They can't stand each other 99% of the time, and that other 1% is when they are in bed together. And that's great and all. Like, they definitely have like physical chemistry with one another, but I think that their characters, who they are, their history, their backstories, their motivations, they don't make any sense as a couple that is going to be like supposed to be like fated mates or whatever. They are completely two different people, and not really in a like opposites attract kind of way, more of a I cannot fucking stand you or who you are as a person kind of way. So like they don't really make any sense to me. And so I think that they are immediate divorce. Like they might get a divorce before the epilogue. Their steamy scenes are pretty steamy though. Another popular fantasy romance couple that has some really good steamy scenes, but I really don't like feel the chemistry, is Poppy and Castile. That's another unpopular opinion, but I don't think that they have like long-term chemistry with one another. Honestly, I feel like Poppy should have been with Kyrian. You know, I have so many things I could say about the War of Two Queens, but I truly do think that Poppy had more chemistry with Kyrian than she did with Castile. It just kind of felt like that romantic relationship was being dragging it across the floor through the snow and the mud. It was just kind of being forced, because I do feel like they grew and they differed as characters by, you know, I honestly, even book 2, like I don't really think that they had enough holding them together other than the sexual chemistry that they had. I don't know. I don't really feel like they would last. So I'm going to go with maybe for Poppy and Castile, because I feel like I can't put them in the no chem category, because they clearly had like sexual chemistry, but anything past that, I don't think it really matches. So I'm going to go with maybe. I am firmly team Kyrian though. Next, I have Tessalin and Theon from A Reign of Shadows and Endings. This is a dark fantasy romance. So there is elements of like dubious consent aspects that aren't necessarily, you know, indicative of a completely green flag relationship. But I really don't think that Tessalin and Theon would ever manage to get past what happened in the first book. And so they are immediate divorce. She was constantly trying to escape him, and he didn't really do anything to earn back her trust. You know, I feel like if you're going to do things like entrapment and dubious consent and like servitude and things like that, you have to have like proper groveling from the character that did those things in order to justify a long-term relationship. And based on the things that I have read so far, I don't see a way for Theon to grovel to the extent that he would need to in order to make up for the things that he did to Tessalin. He truly believes that she is there just to serve him and to make him more powerful and better. And he has these moments of clarity where he thinks, oh, well, maybe this isn't quite right. But then he still decides to go along with it because it's just easier for him. And so I don't really see a way for him to truly atone for the things that he has done, because he doesn't necessarily think that they're wrong. And maybe we'll see more character growth with him as things progress. But as they stand, I think Tessalin and Theon are immediate divorce. A very popular cozy fantasy romance is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And we have Wendell and Emily in this series. And I think that their relationship and their chemistry is so severely mid. I don't know what else to say. Like, there's nothing particularly bad about their romance or their chemistry, but there's like nothing super exciting about it either. And maybe this is just because it's cozy fantasy, so like there's not a lot of high stakes here, but it just felt boring. I'm sorry. I just kind of felt boring. Like, I wasn't super excited about anything to do with their characters. It just kind of was. And so I think Wendell and Emily are definitely mid. I think they had chemistry in a way that like two academics that love books can have chemistry, but I don't think that it was like particularly exciting or thrilling. And so they're definitely, I think, just mid. Meh, you know? Another very popular fantasy romance, I think, is Guild by Raven Kennedy. And I really liked Guild. I think I read the first 3 books and then I was just kind of like, okay, like, let's get to the point. And I didn't continue past that, but I think that Arren and Slade are a maybe. Like, maybe they'll last, maybe they won't. I think Slade is like really, really hot. He's like so secure and confident in like who he is. And I think the reason that I think they're a maybe is because I don't really see Arren as that. Like, I don't really see her matching that vibe forever. She kind of seems like that girl that's like, wants the bad boys, but only for a little while, and then she's gonna go back to her like really safe. I think maybe that's kind of the point of her character growth, and maybe if I had continued this series, I would be rating them higher. But as it stands, I would put Arren and Slade as a maybe. Like, maybe they'll last, maybe they won't. I don't know. I have 2 couples left on my list for today. One of them is an immediate divorce and one of them is together forever. Which one do you guys want to do first? I think immediate divorce. Okay, so I could rant about this couple literally all day. I'm probably gonna have to edit this like crazy because I'm probably gonna rant for so long. Like 90% of this video is gonna be me ranting about this couple because it doesn't make any freaking sense. And I read this series like 10 years ago and I'm still mad about it. And that is Sookie and Sam. Oh my God. Do not even get me started on Sookie and Sam. Oh, that made me so mad when I read that. Oh my freaking God. Sookie went from Bill to Eric to whoever the fuck, and then to Sam. Like, I don't know, there's just something about them where I'm like, no, girl, come on. Sam has been like sitting in the wings of Sookie's subconscious for like a decade at this point, just waiting for her to like be emotionally bankrupt, and then he's gonna swoop in and steal her heart. And she's like, oh my God, Sam, you were always the one that was there for me. I should have known all along that you were gonna be my forever. No, bitch, stand up. Stand up. This man is kind of creepy. He used to watch you change in his dog form. Like, let's be real. I could rant about them forever because there was absolutely no chemistry between the two of them. And that series is like 10 fucking books long. Not an ounce of chemistry between Sookie and Sam for 10 books. You're telling me you're gonna go from Eric to Sam? Girl, bye. Bye. No. No. That doesn't make any sense at all. They are immediate divorce. Never should have happened. It is not canonically correct in my mind that Sookie and Sam ended up together. I read this series like 10 years ago, and every once in a while it like pops back into my head and makes me so irate. Like, I'll just be chilling, like reading another book, and I'm like, oh my God, you know what this reminds me of? Sookie and Sam. And then I'm angry all over again. Oh my God, no. On the flip side, my number 1 fantasy romance couple, I love them deeply, so very much. They are mature. They have gone through a lot together. They don't always agree with one another, and they're not afraid to let the other person know and kind of check them along the way. They have conversations with one another. They respect one another. And that is Max and Tisana from Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. Oh my God, are they relationship goals? He learned her native language so that he could express his devotion and his love for her in her native tongue. Oh my God, that is so incredibly romantic. I love them so much. I know some people don't love them all that much because they feel like it was kind of boring to them, but I really loved the maturity of the two of them and the two of them together. Like I said earlier, they're not afraid to check one another. They're not afraid to be themselves around one another. They're not afraid to like go into battle and know that the other person's going to have their back. They don't do anything fucked up to one another. They are together forever. Like ride or die, nothing will ever come between them. That is Max and Tisana. Like they are locked in, and I love them so very much. These are my favorite and my least favorite paranormal and fantasy romance couples. But that is all for today. If you enjoyed today's video, I would say subscribe or follow me around at Liza Likes to Read everywhere. Until then, be good, be safe, bye.